My heart, pumping all day long. Get me the morning when darkness comes. My heart, ooh. It takes so long to mend. It's harder to lean on this shell of a man. You found love in the Lord, your family and your friends. Could you please pray for me that I can find the same within? My heart, pumping all day long. When the evening comes, please stay strong. Give me the morning when darkness falls. My heart, I found victory in the Father's love from the day we wed. And those vows to hold true. Nothing's gonna tear me down until the day I'm dead. My heart belongs to you. It's always at my back. My back is always strapped with these things that I call my own. Life, it isn't always grand, but when you finally take that stand, you become a man. You needed to become. people just do what they want. Time, it goes faster every day, and my heart, it leads the way, while the future, it fades into a memory. Is always at my back. My back is always strapped with these things that I call my
Biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Caught Up is an echo chamber for content creators. Almost all content on this show, Caught Up, is created by citizen journalists. I share content created by citizen journalists whom I believe to be the best at finding facts buried deep into the abyss, or outlets whom I believe to be the best for verifiable information. We have to operate within their system, and we only have the information they allow us to have. These individuals who nerd out on fact-finding missions and then add their opinion to better inform me, to make the best choice for me, in this war of narratives is Resolute. This information war is a battle for your mind and ultimately compliance. Mainstream media would have you believe that an echo chamber promotes the spread of misleading information or fake news, thereby reinforcing one's confirmation bias. So, I am excited to share the content in hopes you will turn off mainstream media, whom I believe is just another version of entertainment. So again, welcome to Caught Up.
All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is Brian Riley, and this is the show Caught Up. It is Friday morning, and it is very early, gentlemen. I have a wedding this weekend to go to, and tonight's show may interfere with some of the pre-wedding festivities. But yeah, my son's getting married to his wonderful fiance, and we're gonna have a great celebration tomorrow and all that. So I wanted to get out the content this morning today, so that I could enjoy the weekend with the family. So anyway, yes, welcome. Today, I want to talk about what everybody else has been talking about, I don't know, for the last couple weeks, I guess since Hurricane Helene, and all that is climate change. And while I heard stuff my entire life from different people, if you know anything about me, if you've watched or followed anything about me, that, oh man, he's been talking stuff like this since as far back as I can remember. It drove me crazy, and now we're seeing some of the effects in real time, in ways that I've never seen it before in my life. And so it took us to go back and do some research. And I know everybody's doing the same thing some way, somehow. I'm sure you've heard of was it Operation Popeye and Project Phoenix and Cyrus and all these other things. And yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about each one of them. That's right. Because it's important. Because I'm 50 years old, And this stuff goes back 70, 80 years, way further than that. If you follow anybody else that digs really deep into this stuff, they'll tell you it's the late 1800s, early 1900s when weather modification became a thing. But how they've used it as a weapon against nations and people, so I guess basically since 1940, somewhere in there, and longer than I've been alive. So it makes me wonder, how much of the weather is actually natural. I'm not saying that they create the weather. I'm saying that they manipulate the event. For example, Helene and then Milton, two of the largest hurricanes, as far as I understand, ever recorded. So it didn't begin this way. It ended up being like that. And then Helene ended up in areas of our country that it didn't belong. Not saying that the after effects of a real hurricane may have reached that, a natural hurricane, let's just say it that way, may have reached East Tennessee in the area I live in, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, all those states that were devastated along the way. But the path of destruction that it created along the way got worse as it went, and like it was hyper intensified, or whatever fancy word you want to make to make it appear as though it was created. This was huge biblical proportions, right? And so in my lifetime, climate change has been used as a tactic for fear. Global warming, no matter what they did, whatever words that they tried to put in behind it, it was just it was all for fear. There's nothing that they can prove, as far as I'm concerned, that any of things that they are saying isn't something that it's not real, and if it becomes real, they helped create that to benefit them. And those, the elite, whoever. And odd that it's happening during an election time. So anyway, I want to go into some of that. I said I would. I've been talking, I guess this is probably the third or fourth time or third or fourth show that I've gone into detail about how they are using climate as a weapon to possibly subvert our elections. And here we are, less than a month away now. We've had two major hurricanes, and they are doing those exact things. I mean, as the show goes on, you'll see there's a segment in here where it talks about how they've already changed some of the rules, I think in North Carolina and Florida, or whatever, on how the elections are going to be run now because of the catastrophe and the disaster in the area. And then we had David Axelrod, that fuck, from prior administrations, talking about how a liberal Democratic voter will find a way, because they're that smart in devastated areas, to vote, while the conservative Trump MAGA guy don't know what to do for you because you're probably not going to be able to get your vote in. Is just another signal that says maybe they helped create that in these areas, right? And then to add insult to injury, these mines that the lithium, the quartz, the manufacturing, all going on at the same time. The communities either agree or disagree or whatever, and then this, so we should be asking why. And now the information's out there. See, the reason I think they want to censor us on podcasts, information on the internet, is to make sure that we can't fight the narrative, because we're in a war, but it's an information war, and this war is to make sure that we comply based off of what they tell us on the television. And this misinformation, disinformation garbage that's going on. They're doing their best, but thank God for citizen journalists, people that are like you and me, that are either in the areas that are affected. It doesn't have to be a natural disaster. It could just be a political disaster, or a financial disaster, or an economic disaster, or whatever. So, it affects us in ways that we believe that this is not being done on purpose to us. It just sort of happened, and because it sort of happened, we'll dust off our shoulders, we'll get back up, and we'll work together, and we'll work right on through this. And that's exactly what they are expecting from us. And all along they're doing this. So we should be stopping it, not accepting it and dealing with it, and then pretending like we're all coming together to try to figure out a solution to the problem so that it never happens again. And we're talking to people who are supposed to be taking this in and listening, because they are the so-called elected officials, and it's going in one damn ear and right out the other, because it's all about what lines their pockets. So basically it all boils down to control, the money, all of that. So I have a bunch of articles and some video, and I'm going to go through it, and some of the stuff briefly, maybe some of it a little deeper. But there's so much of it that it's just going to be little sections of it, so that you can look for yourself. And then I left the links to most of all of this in the descriptions. And then, or you can just see where it's at. Like I do a lot of times, I kind of zoom in and see where they're looking at, and then I go check it out for myself. So hit the thumbs up, like, follow, share, all that good stuff, guys. There's always a live chat. Usually it's Real Ed Reno that's in there. It's my buddy, man. He drives truck. He's usually cross country, and he kind of gives information from, places that, we can't, or I can't reach out to quite the same ways he can. But would like to see more people in there. Oh, look, there's Robert Costner. All right, man. He's on Facebook. That's another thing. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. So if you don't want a Rumble account, Rumble's a lot like YouTube, except it's conservative. They don't really knock you down for free speech, so you can say shit like fuck and not be censored for it, or you could talk about illegal, illegitimate elections, and Rumble so far has been spot on with that. And then you got Facebook, and then YouTube, and so far I haven't been shut down by either, but that remains to be seen the closer we get to the election. So anyway, I want to tie all this together. I want to show you guys out there some of the stuff that we're allowed to see, because remember, we only are allowed to see the information that they allow us to have. All right, so let's get started right now. Okay, this right here is the Phoenix Project, and it's Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, and they did this in 2009. So if you go down here to where the Project Phoenix emblem is, it says in 2009, the Tampa Bay, whatever that is, developed Tampa Bay catastrophic plan, a plan to address the challenges of responses and recovery during a catastrophic event in the Tampa Bay area. I posted this live, was it on Wednesday? Just before, was it Milton hit landfall there? And so, just kind of odd that, this is a think tank that's supposed to be prepared for this, and maybe they were, but I got to believe that it's the people that live there are more prepared than any of this type of I don't know, preparedness that they try to put on us. But as you can see, there's a video that's going on right there. And I played the video last time. I won't play the video this time. All right, look, there's Kimbo in there on Facebook. That's cool. Very cool. So anyway, it's a training and exercise, and they go into detail almost exactly just like Milton. And how odd would that be that, in 2009, we would get almost similar results in 2024, almost kind of like that they knew it was going to happen, right? So you guys can go there. It's called Project Phoenix 2.0. It's got a 20-minute video there on YouTube called The Recovery. And then down here, I'll just play a second of it or so.
Hi, I'm 10 Connect's Chief Meteorologist Tammy Souza, and we want to bring you up to date on a turn of events out in the tropics. We've been watching this tropical storm, Phoenix, and it's out here just to the south of Puerto Rico. It is now strengthened to a Category 1 hurricane.
Well, Jim, we do have a problem. We have a new hurricane. That's Hurricane Phoenix. It was a tropical storm earlier today, but now it's reached hurricane.
So I would suggest you go look at something like that. Tiffany's here too. Cool. The more the better, man. So yeah, so there's Project 2.0 right there with the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. I wonder how much money them guys make to come up with this stuff. They're all probably high-fiving somewhere in, some hotel somewhere or something like that. So, all right, guys, this is the NOAA Library. We try to tell people that the government, for as much good as they say that they are involved in, there's 98% of that's just the opposite, right? So this is NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They are an agency in which we fund the taxpayer people. And so it's Weather Modification Project reports. You can go look up this stuff yourself, guys. And you can read right here. It's an activity performed with intention of producing artificial changes in the composition, behavior, or dynamics of the atmosphere. And then there's a little blue link there for all of those people who say you're just reading somebody's article. It's 15 Code of Federal Regulations with that little squiggly dash 908. For what is considered weather modification. So, if you don't believe me, you can just go look for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So, and then we'll go down here. As you see, what role does it play? NOAA. Does NOAA conduct weather modifications? Why, yes. And why does NOAA collect information? Why would they collect information, right? So the activity subjects they report are seeding or dispersing any substance into clouds or fog to alter drop size distribution, produce ice crystals, coagulation of droplets, alter the development of hail or lightning, or influence in any way the natural development cycle of clouds or their environment. Kind of sounds like what the hell just hit East Tennessee, ain't it? North Carolina. What is that? Right here. Influence in any way the natural development cycle of clouds or their environment. That's pretty much what happened here, right? So, this is a NOAA thing, guys. This is a federal agency using fires or heat sources to influence convective circulation or to evaporate fog. Well, we asked the good people Hawaii what happened there. They probably follow under that right there, right? Using fires or heat sources. Modifying the solar radiation exchange of the earth or clouds through the release of gases, dust, liquids, or aerosols into the atmosphere. Sounds a lot like chemtrails. Holy cow. Modifying the characteristics of land or water surfaces by dusting or treating the powders, liquid sprays, dyes, or other materials. This is NOAA. Releasing electrically charged or radioactive particles or ions into the atmosphere. What the hell? And you guys have to remember, I have an East Tennessee education here, so applying shock waves, sonic energy sources, or other explosive or acoustic sources to the atmosphere. Using aircraft-propelled downwash, jet wash, or other sources of artificial wind generation. using lasers or other sources of electromagnetic radiation or other activities undertaken with the intent to modify the weather or climate, including solar radiation, management activities, and experiments. And then you can keep going down here, guys. The article is pretty cool. It goes to ask about what cloud seeding is and who you can contact. So all these people can give you the biggest line of bullshit you ever had in your entire life, right? Right? So there's that with NOAA. What about this right here? This is a PDF. It's 11 pages. Renee Morgan has sent me some information. My brother Danny has sent me some information. Robert out there sends us information. Yep, the Wyoming fires too, man. They're going on. I think they've been going on for a little while longer than what they've been saying. We're just starting to hear about it now. Maybe at Real Ed Reno, when he's out in that area, he can confirm some of this. But this right here, this PDF on cloud seeding, it's a response to a request on September 22nd, 1971. It was given May 31st, 1972. That's older than I am, ladies and gentlemen. This is right here. Background and cost. Talks about how much this stuff costs. The precipitation modification, fog and cloud modification, hail suppression, lightning modification. Oh, wait a minute. Hurricane modification. This 1971, folks. This is 1971, folks. Hurricane modification, right? So if you go to, it's 11 pages of this PDF. You can read it. It's in my link down there. It goes in. But the part that I'd like to go down to is the all the agencies that are involved in this, right? Federally supported weather modification activities. The Department of Interior. The Department of Commerce. The National Science Foundation, the NSF. All these Air Force bases in California in 1971, if you read. And then here it goes. Hail suppression. And in this part right here, it begins to explain what they did and where they did it at. Lightning modification. Same thing. And the project and its cost. Probably when it started or stopped. Hurricane modification. The earliest cloud seeding experiment to modify a hurricane was conducted in 1947 under Project Cyrus, which was sponsored by Defense, the U.S. government. It goes on to say the results of the experiment could not be assessed because at the time the dynamics of a hurricane were not sufficiently understood. To better understand hurricanes, the National Hurricane Research Project, more commonly referred to as Project Storm Fury, I bet you everybody's heard about that project too here recently, was initiated in 1956. This project was jointly funded by Commerce and Defense. Project Storm Fury was designed to explore the structure and dynamics of a hurricane and to develop a seeding technology to reduce the maximum surface winds associated with the hurricanes. Cost to be incurred under the project during the fiscal year, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, $3.1 million under the Project Storm Fury. 4 hurricanes, all on the Atlantic coast, were seeded with silver iodide. How many people have heard what silver iodide here is recently? A whole bunch of us. And in 1961, Hurricane Esther was seeded, and in 1963, 1969, and 1971, Hurricane Beulah, Debbie, and Ginger, respectively, were seeded, according to Commerce. Decreases in the wind velocity of the seed hurricanes were noted in these experiments, but the level of the decreases were within the range of natural viability of hurricane winds. Therefore, additional research was necessary before definite determination could be made as to the degree to which hurricanes could be modified by seeding. This is your federal government, ladies and gentlemen. This is coordinated with science and the military. The military wants the science to coordinate what they're saying. Is it real or is it not real? Before this time and era, nuclear power was supposed to replace electricity. We were going to have a infrastructure that was almost infinite of power and little to no charge to the taxpayer. What did they do to that? They turned it into a bomb, and they made everybody fear that word, nuclear. Nuclear. So as I was growing up and we were doing these drills in school because of the USSR, the Cold War, all that was going on at that time, like hiding under a desk, slid up against the wall was going to save you from a nuclear blast. And what happened to nuclear technology? The military has it. It's very, very little out here in the private sector for civilian use. Now, what's the next thing that they can do to weaponize something to make you afraid of it so that you conform to whatever's going on? Weather modification, right? Climate change, warming, global warming, this, that, and the other. And all these agencies are included in that. So, you can go to this document right here, gao.gov, and you can read this for yourself. On to the next thing. NATO. NATO's responding to new challenges posed by climate change. See, folks, this is what they want right here, right here. They want us to be worried. They want us to submit. They want us to when that thing comes across your phone, that real loud, you're driving down the road, nearly wrecked, startles the hell out of you to tell you that you have to evacuate, shelter in place, this, that, and the other, because they know better about what's coming than you do. The reason that they know better about what's coming than you do is because they helped create what's coming. That's why they know. What better way to remove people in the masses if they can? Millions of people left the state of Florida or traveled further north than where they had to be to avoid Hurricane Milton. They gave you plenty of times, like, 7 days, 6 days to get out of there. They trumped it up on the media of the storm. They built it up. They had to build it up because they're up there seeding the hell out of it. They're modifying it. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. It's called facts. It's no longer your government's trying to help you. They're not. This is exactly what they're doing. They're displacing large populations of people right before an election. This is election interference, folks. Your government's doing it. You won't read about this till about another 70 years when they declassify the information, when they talk about how they did their Project Helene and Project Milton and whatever else it was, the Wyoming fires, this, that, and the other. It'll all come to truth, and our great-great-grandchildren will be talking about how we were trying to tell the rest of you dumbasses out there to wake up, because you won't. You won't. The television tells you to run off your phone, leave this, whatever that does, you don't question it. Not doing that. I'm trying to share this information, so. NATO, right here. NATO is the largest military alliance in the world, multinational character, and a constant adaptation of its structure and capability allow it to respond rapidly to a changing security landscape, including environmental change. That does not happen without the U.S. military, folks. That right there, that first statement up there, that very first sentence up there. Rapid, response rapidly does not happen without the U.S. military, the Navy, everything else. That does not happen, right? The World Economic Forum's Global Risk Report. There's a little blue area right there with the PDF. I don't know how big it is, but you can go read it for yourself. It's long and lengthy. It's full of garbage so that they can convince you that. And here's the thing, if it doesn't work this way, bloop, they flip it because it works the other way. Kind of like quantum physics. They make one side or the other work for itself, right? Then it goes on to behind the science, right? Ocean atmospheric systems, constantly changing, resulting in fluctuations on different scales. That's been going on for the life of this planet, guys. The difference is it's being modified. And it's been being modified in ways my entire life. And I'm 50 years old. And see, they try to show us the temperature of the climate right here. I mean, this side is what, 1986, 2005, 86, 2000. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? from the perspective of risk management. And that's the other thing. Trust the science. When science isn't right, they do just what quantum physics is about. Flip it. They flip it to the side that works for it. That narrative works. Well, we'll flip it to go this way. Have you seen the movie Oppenheimer? When the very first student that comes into his class, when he talks about quantum physics, and he says he understands the basics of it, what's he tell him? It's like 18 minutes into the movie. Watch that movie and then go watch the show Story Hour on Badlands Media with Chris Paul and Burning Bright. And watch the perspective that comes out of that. It's a 3-hour movie. It's long. But they do an hour and a half breakdown of it, and it's amazing. But he tells that kid, or that student, maybe he's not a kid, he's in college, that just flip it. It works both ways. So if I can't get it to work this way for me, I just flip it, get it to work that way for me. Quantum physics, right? Same thing. Drives me nuts, man. And you can't convince people. You can't convince people. It says, according to new scientific evaluations, mounting evidence shows that this once was considered the IPCC's worst case scenario, talking about this rapid global warming. So here we got air operations, right? And it explains on what it does. There's a nice big old picture of where they made that humongous dust cloud, or they're trying to stop it from happening again or slow it down. Look here, maritime operations, right? In the Arctic will face a number of challenges. How many people are allowed to go to the Arctic? Yeah. Land operations. We can expect equally severe impact on land operations. A recent Pentagon report has found that more than 50% of U.S. military bases, including operational abroad, are at grave risk for flooding and extreme temperatures. Ooh, that ought to scare us, man. What are we going to do? Space operations. The space domain is not immune to climate change. So it doesn't matter where we go, ladies and gentlemen. When they find us, they tell us that we can go live and cohabitate on Mars. It's going to have climate change there too. They're never going to be able to prove it. And when they try to, it's going to have... When the common sense comes out of it, then you're going to flip. No way. It can work both ways. The way ahead. And here's their great overall conclusion of what it's going to do. Given the severe impediments that the climate change causes for military operations, a NATO response is overdue. Who the hell does NATO think they are? They are funded by the United States government, the taxpayer who doesn't want it funded anymore. Right? We don't want it funded anymore. I want NATO resolved. Dissolved, I mean. All right, on to the next one. Experts agree climate change is a weapon of mass destruction. This was published in June 13th, 23. It says, what's it? You know Renee Morgan is my Tiffany, right? Well, probably. I might know. Anyway, I was just trying to give everybody kudos. Experts agree climate change is a weapon of mass destruction. So here we go. The annual threat assessment. I think this article's like on our side, right? Was created after the aftermath of 9/11 to centralize findings across all of the U.S. government intelligence agencies. All of them. All of them. For 2023, the assessment lists 6 major threats. 4 of them are from rival nations: China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. Guess what number 5 is? Climate change. So the first 4 major threats to the United States require a military posture in response, as well as a diplomatic and God knows what other classified response. But the 5th threat is ecological. Climate change is a reflection of how disequilibrium in the atmosphere has unleashed forces on Earth that exuberate the heightened social and political tensions. Those stresses, says the annual threat assessment, can range from whipsawing impacts of extreme events to the displacement of people from lands that are no longer capable of sustaining them. Those climate refugees, are you hearing this? Then become pawns in the immigration debate, one of the most divisive and politically destabilizing issues in America and Europe It's all being done by design. The conclusion of the U.S. intelligence community now line up with one of the private sector's most thorough gatherers of predictive data. The insurance industry. Insurance companies don't have the military to back them like the intelligence agencies, but they have the money on the line and depend on accurate risk assessments for their survival, so they scope out threats to their indemnities against weather and other disasters and ensure the costs of premiums reflect the odds of risk. How convenient. How convenient. So we have weather modification that interferes with elections, displacements and disbursements of people, cultures, nations, communities, and now our insurance premiums. See, it's a conglomerate of stuff, guys. And then so when you try to say it's a conspiracy theory here, well, we got this way, like Schiff said, we can hit you every which way but Sunday, right? Yeah. So this is called Capital in Maine. It's in the description. All right, how about this? Weather control. This is Smithsonian Magazine. Weather control as a Cold War weapon. In the 1950s, some U.S. scientists warned that without immediate action, the Soviet Union would control the Earth's thermometers. So I'm assuming that makes an ass out of you and me, right? I'm assuming that because the Soviet Union wanted to control the Earth's thermometers, it was just prime for the U.S. government to try to counteract that by doing it themselves. I'm thinking that's pretty sure where that's coming from, right? So the Cold War weapon. Here we go, guys. I know it sounds like we're echoing the same things over and over again, but that's how it is. See, the media comes out there and says Donald Trump bad over and over. Man, bad. Mean tweets bad. Mean tweets bad. Kamala good. Kamala good. Kamala good. And they repeat it over and over and over again. Before you know it, you're standing there talking to somebody and they're going, oh no, Donald Trump bad. Mean tweets bad. Kamala good. Kamala good. So we have to do the same damn thing. On November 13th, 1946, pilot Curtis Talbot, working for the General Electric Research Laboratory, GE, ladies and gentlemen, climbed to an altitude 14,000 feet, about 30 miles east of, New York. Talbot, along with scientist Dr. Vincent J. Schaefer, released 3 pounds of dry ice, frozen carbon dioxide, into the clouds. As they turned south, Schaefer noted, I looked toward the rear and was thrilled to see the long streamers of snow falling from the base of the cloud through which we had just passed. I shouted to Kurt to swing around, and as we did, so we passed through a mass of glistening snow crystals. Needless to say, we were quite excited. They had created the world's first human-made snowstorm. After the experiments of the GE Research Laboratory, there was a feeling that humanity might finally be able to control one of the greatest variables of life on Earth. And as Cold War tensions heightened, weather control was seen by the United States as a potential weapon that could be even more devastating than nuclear warfare. See? It's all about changing the wording, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about changing the wording. Nuclear warfare. Climate change. It'll all mean the same thing eventually. My grandchildren, they'll probably be worried about if the sky is falling. It'll be my job and my children's job to reassure them that that's not real. That's not true. These articles are proof in the pudding that our government created this stuff. They gathered a bunch of people they claimed to be scientists, and they had them do the work because they paid them handsomely to fund the whole project so that the outcome works out in their favor, even if it didn't work. Even if it didn't work. Even if it didn't work. That's the snow that won't melt and turns black. You're probably right. Man-made. I mean, and here we are. So we're talking about how climate can't be controlled. The earth is warming, this, that, and the other. I swear to you, if you went out to the Statue of Liberty out there where it's out in the middle of the bay or the ocean, I've never been there, so, I'm not sure exact location. I know it's out there and it's close to New York. And if you took a tape measure, the water hasn't raised 1 inch unless the wind's pushing the waves. It hasn't drowned out Statue of Liberty. She's still standing. I'm not saying that the wind can't knock the waves over. I'm not saying that it doesn't get wet, but it's there. The water hasn't raised. The way they say the global warming's melting these ice caps, so the water's raising, right? Where? Florida and California, when I was in high school, it's not supposed to exist in 2024. It exists, ladies and gentlemen, regardless of what Al Gore told you or all the scientists in the world. And all of their facts and all of their charts and all of their modeling and every billions of dollars of the taxpayer money that we funded, all of this, we must look like idiots out there to people in other countries. The American public, they're so stupid. They give their government all this money, and then they don't believe that this stuff happens. It doesn't exist, while these countries are feeling the sting from that stuff, right? Look what happened in Dubai, and we're going to get into that shortly, right? A desert, flooded. And I'm the stupid guy. Epoch Times. Epoch Times, who I believe is more center left leaning than center right leaning. That's what I got on them. You go try to find stuff out there now, and they're just kind of like everybody else. They're just sort of hanging out into the wind type thing. So, controlling nature, man, and weather manipulation. Weather control has been the dream of authors and farmers for hundreds, if not thousands of years. But in the past few decades, technology has come into the use that may actually make weather control a reality. Well, we know that Moses controlled the weather there, but only because of the ability through God. It wasn't man-made, it was natural. God made that happen through Moses, not that Moses made it happen and then tried to say that God did that, right? Not to get biblical. And then here, this article, same thing, and this was 4/25/2014. Guys, 10 years ago, 2014. People have been talking about this, but it's the normies out there. It's the people who aren't affected yet with what's going on in our country that just can't seem to fathom this. You know what I mean? It's the same people that are telling you that you have to have an ID for everything, to buy a gun, vaccinations, show proof, this, that, and the other, except for when it's time to vote. Oh, no ID. Same people. So since the 1950s, many technologies that were once considered to be science fiction have become science fact. This article, 4/25, April 25th, 2014. The impossible dream of controlling the weather with technology might not only be technologically possible, but it be happening at the hands of the government around the world. And it goes into talk about the 1940s, Project Cyrus, the 1950s, Project Storm Fury, and the 60s and 70s attempted to, they used a method of seeding hurricanes in order to weaken and destroy them. They did it in Vietnam to, was it the Ho Chi Minh Trail, to try to drown out the Viet Cong, if I'm correct on how I'm saying that. These projects were conducted by the U.S. Navy and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, your government and a governmental agency. According to NOAA, the experiments were unsuccessful due to geographical restrictions. That's called plausible deniability, and that's ridiculous. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, HARP, out of Alaska, was managed by the Air Force, the Navy, and others from its inceptions in 1993. Its alleged closure last year. HARP is still run by some University of Alaska, I believe, and it's a weapon of mass destruction. Go look up HARP. Go look what it can do. It can pinpoint things like certain locations in Hawaii, the Appalachian region. It's absolutely real. HARP is surrounded by a great deal of controversy, as many conspiracy theories release the work done at HARP into the ionosphere research by Nikola Tesla during the turn of the 20th century, which involved many applications, including remote transmission of wireless electricity using the ionosphere. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's fact. Very much so fact.
Is it going to rain in Dubai today? Just so I know. I have to drive back from Abu Dhabi to Dubai.
No.
It's not raining. It's a sunny day.
The UAE government invested more than $20 million in research to start a process called cloud seeding.
The UAE performs around 1,000 hours of cloud seeding a year, and it's all controlled by this building in the National Center of Meteorology in Abu Dhabi, where they track the whole process.
We met with a cloud seeding expert to explain how the seeding process works.
We wait the forecast. When we have a good, chance for a cloud, we send the aircraft to that location. It go under the cloud. In the first stage of the cloud, there is good updraft at that time, start to release all the salt, and with the good updraft, of course, it will go inside the cloud. The droplets will become bigger and start to rain.
The center manufactures a salt substance that helps enhance rainfall. They put them in what they call flares.
That's Dubai. They spent $20 billion. They got it from the U.S. government, I'm pretty sure. And what happened? What caused Dubai's floods? Experts cite climate change, not cloud seeding. Dubai, April 17th, a storm hit the United Arab Emirates and Oman this week, bringing record rainfall that flooded highways and unweighted houses, gridlocking traffic, and trapped people in their homes. At least 20 people were reported to have died in the deluge in Oman, while another person was said to have died in the floods in the UAE that closed government offices and schools for days. The storm initially hit Oman on Sunday before it pounded the UAE on Tuesday, knocking out power and causing huge disruptions to flights as runways were turned into rivers. The UAE recorded 254 millimeters, 10 inches of rainfall, a city bordering Oman, and was the largest ever 24-hour record rain since they started records in 1949. Look at the picture. The meteorologist told Reuters there was no such operation before the storm. The operation I think they're talking about was cloud seeding. They just go into it. Doesn't have the name of the operation. At least I couldn't find it. Anyway, the article goes into it. It has video where the cars are floating down the roads or that kind of thing. But you ever seen a Lamborghini float? I mean, I didn't know they could float like that until I saw that. They got more rain in 24 hours than they get in a whole year and a half. They seeded the clouds, and they overseeded it, or they understood. Whatever they did, they modified it to the point that it put so much rain in that region that, I mean, you guys, if you're watching the news, you saw it. That was a big thing, but it was not because of cloud seeding. They had you believe it was some hurricane or tropical storm or whatever it was that pulled all that moisture out of there and all of a sudden just dumped it in that one location in that region right there because it was lucky. Dumbest shit I ever heard, man. All right, here we go. It's climate control, United States weather modification in the Cold War and beyond. This is Science Direct. Rainmaking, hail bustling, fog lifting, snow packing, enhancing, lightning suppression, hurricane snuffing, weather control. At the lieutenant fringe of scientist discussion in the early 20th century, and the subject of newspaper articles with tones ranging from skeptical Twitter to awestruck wonder. March 2008, guys, this article. Weather modification research became more serious after World War II. In the United States, the seeds of silver iodine and dry ice purported to enhance rainfall and bust hailstorms soon became seeds of controversy. Post-war optimism. Look here, again, 1946. General Electric Research Laboratory in New York, led by Nobel Prize winning physical chemist Irving Langmuir. The military connections put him in touch with the research and development, civilian scientists who advised the military establishments on science and technology. By late 1946, federal science policy maven Vannevar, East Tennessee education, Vannevar Bush noted that artificial snow might be of more than academic interest if the ratio of dry ice to snowfall turned out to be extremely small. If a few kilograms of dry ice particles could be dumped thousands of tons of snow on enemy forces, the military application would be immense. So, if I go back into my content here...
Is it going to rain in Dubai today? Well, just so I know. I have to drive...
Hang on. We don't need to watch her again.
Yeah, and we've discussed the with Oppenheimer.
Let's do this one.
Yeah, and we've discussed the kind of hyper specialization that we deal with in our culture right now. It is one of the reasons why I am like adamantly a generalist. You know, I don't believe that it is worth attempting to become an expert in any of these subjects because they are bullshit at the bottom. You know, so you can have it.
Did you hear what he said? These experts, it's bullshit at the bottom.
Understanding of why they're bullshit and how they work and how they are used and abused. You don't need to know the exact details of any of this stuff. The funny thing in that scene that you mentioned with, I think that's Lomanitz, who's his first student there, and he begins by teaching him this stuff. What he does is he grants himself permission to allow for the thing and its opposite to be true at all times. Right. That is what the quantum theory grants you. It can be one or the other. So if you hit a barrier when you're going forward because the thing doesn't work that way, well, you just say, you know what? It turns out the thing is the opposite way, and let's just keep on moving forward.
Did you hear that? If it didn't work this way, let's just keep going the other way.
And that is basically how, quote unquote, the science works now. One of the really funny elements about this film is that we are supposed to believe that the scientists are doing this amazing thing, and the military, they need these scientists for their science. What the military needs the scientists for is to legitimize their project as something that it's not, because the entire thing is a psyop meant to convince the world that no one should ever mess with us.
Okay. So if we go on that principle right there, what he just said, and then we read right here, civilian scientists who advise the military establishments on science and technology. Civilian scientists who advise the military establishment on science and technology. And then we go back to what he says.
Yeah, and we've discussed the
right here
project as something that it's not, because the entire thing is a psyop meant to convince the world that no one should ever mess with us. That's the surface level interpretation. A deeper interpretation might be that since the war was essentially already over, this was the big symbol that showed the entire world that we actually won.
Right. Amazing. Amazing. The military needed the science. You just go back and listen to what he says all over again. But it's exactly what it means. Civilian scientists who advise the military establishment on science and technology. Yep. The Army contracted with General Electric to study fog clearing and snow enhancement. The same year marked the beginning of the Project Cyrus. So they needed the science to make whatever it was they were doing matter, as far as I'm concerned. And Chris Paul says it in a way only he can. Let's go to the next video.
With Oppenheimer, there is a degree to which this nuke existential crisis and this climate change existential crisis, which is what this is being called. Hurricane Helene, that was climate change. Hurricane Milton, gonna be climate change. No matter what, it's climate change. They are proving to us that the existential threat is real so that the threat works for them again. Because they can't control us if we don't believe their threats are real. If we don't believe that climate change is real, we're not going to give them our money, our power, and our control so that the science can save us from climate change in a way that it hasn't been able to save us from anything else. In fact, there's good reason to believe that the science is causing most of these problems. And not all science, guys, not all science.
Yeah. No, I love that you brought up the climate change.
See? Same thing. We're saying the same thing. They took the word nuclear and made it bad. They took the word climate and change and they've made it bad. They've made it a fear tactic in order to get what they want across to those who won't listen. And pretty good, right? So it's amazing. I got one more. Let's see. I got a couple more things. But as far as the climate change goes, like I said, I'm going to play one more clip, and it's Fox News. I think it's Jesse and them, Jesse Waters. Anyway, I just want to reiterate everything that we already knew. Those of us that are in the know, we already knew this. And so when you can put it together in something like this where you can show them the articles, the links, how far it goes back. Some articles were 2008, some were 2014, some were current articles, but most all articles, whether it was an article by left-leaning outlet, a right-leaning outlet, something in the middle, a government agency. You got NOAA. I mean, all of that was in there. You know what I mean? The Smithsonian, everything. These think tanks, they're all tied together to make us believe that we are destroying the earth. And if we don't stop this global warming stuff, we're just going to annihilate ourselves. And so then we're going to give them our money and we're going to let them control us and all these things. And it's time to show those who don't want to listen. I mean, we're at a point now where we should physically be able to sit you down and tell you, watch, because you're a dumbass and we're going to crumble if we can't get you guys to open your eyes. And so because they control the wealth, they control the media, and they control the science, right? So here we are. We have all those things together, and so the minority looks like the majority per the media, and the science seems to be real because the media exposes all these natural disasters as ways of global warming, because you and I aren't doing the things necessary to try to keep our planet safe and secure, or good drinking water, or healthy air to breathe, or whatever it is. So they have weaponized it. And there's a lot of you all that don't believe it, and it's true. And so now we can show you, because of the internet, because of things like that, and people that are journalists out there, because cell phones and technology, we can truly subvert their narrative. And we have. I'm not saying that Helene and Milton weren't natural. They probably were naturally made, tropical depressions somewhere. I'm saying that once they figured out which direction they were going, they modified them and made them destructive monsters on scales that we've never seen or recorded, scales that's never been recorded, never in my lifetime, storms those big, in an area, the one that was in East Tennessee, West North Carolina, Virginia, Northern Georgia. I mean, these storms, while we get some effects from them, sure, some wind, some rain, we don't get flooding on those kinds of scales without something helping it along. So, and now we have election interference. So we have, disbursement of people, land, this, that, and the other, election interference, insurance rates. Everybody's making money off of this. And the ones that are getting affected and hurt are the little guy, the taxpayer, we, the people. And the people that they claim that we put into places that are supposed to speak for us are lining their pockets with money, and they don't care. They tell you one thing while crossing their fingers behind their back, and they need to be held accountable. And there's ways to hold them accountable. The Bill of Rights, the Constitution, there are bylaws in there, and some of it's treason. Some of them are supposed to be hung, and publicly. And that is there to be in place to show the rest of the country and now the world, since we're technologically where we are, that you can't do this to people, benefit from it financially and everything else, and not reap the repercussions from it. If you can destroy a community and kill hundreds of people, post it live on TV, YouTube, all these social medias, then we should be able to hang you on the lawn of the White House when you're found guilty legally for the things that you did or you allowed to happen, you didn't stop, and you had the control to stop it, to make sure that the next individual that takes that position, who is really duly elected and put into that position of power, does not make the mistake again, because he will fear what happened to the other guy doesn't happen to him. We should not fear the government. The government should fear us. We should not worry about how we should be talking about them. They should worry if we're talking like this. If we're out there publicly saying that they need to be reprimanded in whatever way possible, constitutionally and legally, they ought to be worried. If I was a politician, I'd be so worried. I'd be doing my best to make sure I did the right thing every single time. Remember, do the right thing. If you're following me, watching anything on my Facebook page, Instagram, whatever, it says do the right thing. Do the right thing. Quit fucking around. It means in everything, in your everyday life, politics, finances, whatever. Do the right thing. If there's a law that says you can't do the right thing, then the law is not the law. You do the right thing. Do the right thing. And there's people out here that we're talking to. Do the right thing. Period. Let's watch this real quick.
People's lives. It's affecting the election. Last night, the North Carolina Board of Elections announced changes to voting rules in counties impacted by Hurricane Helene. And some people are concerned. Senior political correspondent Kevin Cork is here. Kevin.
Evening, Jesse. They're talking about major changes in the voting process. Now, this is, they say, designed to help displaced voters in the Tar Heel state not only cast their ballots, but also make sure they have their voices heard this November. However, some Republicans are expressing deep reservations about the plan because of concerns about voter integrity. Now, the changes were approved by unanimous vote by the bipartisan board, coming just 10 days before early voting begins in the battleground state, and even as mail-in voting is already underway. Now, a couple of the changes I want to tell you about, including this: voters in the 13 counties that have been heavily affected by Hurricane Helene will now have more ways to obtain and deliver absentee ballots. By the way,
how convenient. How convenient. Easier access to absentee ballots, more time to apply for ballots, drop off anywhere in the state, assistant teams to help collect. So the cleanup effort in that area and the counting of ballots for our presidential election are all going to coincide with each other. It's going to be weeks before they can get, areas that were affected back into shape again. It's going to be weeks before they know the exact tally and count of the presidential election. That's right, Kimbo, integrity. They've lost integrity. Our politicians have lost that. Absolutely. So here we are. How convenient. Our government right here just going out of their way to change election laws, this, that, and the other, based on the fact that people have been dispersed and displaced.
More storms coming, possibly. Voters in those counties will have longer to apply for absentee ballots. They'll be allowed to drop their ballots off anywhere in the state, not just in their home county. There'll also be teams that'll be sent to storm relief centers to help register more voters and, you guessed it, collect more ballots. What's more, the county boards will also be able to, by a bipartisan majority, hire poll workers from other counties and then move them all around the state to ensure there are enough experienced workers.
You hear that? Hire them, move them around the state. Where's your vote going, people? You don't know. They do.
At each voting site. Now, the problem is, say critics, Jesse, we don't know where they're going to draw these poll workers from. And with ballots being able to be dropped off anywhere in the state, how can anyone accurately contest voter turnout discrepancies, say, in different counties? And keep this in mind, North Carolina was one of the last states to report back in 2020. It took them 10 days to certify the general election, despite being a relatively small state. Now, I can also add this very quickly. President Trump's team, the Trump-Vance campaign, issued a statement tonight asking for more access for North Carolinians. They say it is super important that the people who've already suffered from the storm
See, they changed the laws. They just did what they wanted to. Just like with Kamala. They got piss poor ratings from Biden after his first debate with Trump. They just knocked him down, and they grabbed the next puppet, stuck her right in there. You didn't vote for her. You didn't vote for her to be your candidate in the primary. You didn't. You are believing that you did that, but you did none of that. It just goes to show you that they do what they want to. So they removed Biden, they put in Kamala, and you're going to like it. And they fuck with the weather, and so when it did where the damage that they wanted it to do, then they had plausible deniability by saying that it was a natural disaster. And then how did FEMA and the rest of that all turn out? So I don't watch the news very much. I usually get on this type of thing and watch and see, eyewitness accounts from people who actually live there, where they took video or whatever, and then they put it on the internet out there and some social media account where I was able to nab it and share it. And we saw just exactly the things that they did. We saw how FEMA was. You don't believe me?
If he loses, so you try to get Starlink, into North Carolina and Western North Carolina. areas devastated by the hurricane.
It is in there, and it is the primary means of communication.
You had conflict with Buttigieg over this.
We delivered thousands of terminals and got all the way up to the areas where they wouldn't let us go any further. And then we're like, okay, we're going to send helicopters in and find people who are stranded and give them Starlink. Which I think is, a nice thing.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let us land because there was an FAA notice that said in order to land, you have to know who you're going to meet with to land.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? You have to know who you're giving it to be able to land there.
Now, the problem is we're trying to deliver internet communications. People don't have internet communications. We don't know who they are, but then they can't reach us because they don't have communications. Do you see the catch-22?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What makes that significant is we've heard this already from eyewitness accounts. People out there, all those people having the same trouble. But this is Elon Musk trying to get some form of communication down there and giving out the hardware along with the, I believe, the solar capability to run it so that you didn't have to have electricity to be able to communicate with people. And what did they do? They stopped him. There's also accounts out there where FEMA took helicopters and they lined them up on a runway to stop small planes from bringing in supplies. FEMA, federal government agency. They don't want us to know this. The reason they don't want Starlink out there is because they don't want people communicating. And if I have to hear the word again, mountain strong, I seen it on the back of UT helmets, this, that, and the other. Those people in the mountains were strong before they used a 30-foot wall of water to get rid of them. I don't know who you got to be that strong to withstand that kind of thing. You know what I mean? But that's what happened. And you know what? They're resilient. They're strong. My mother was born and raised in Hazard, Kentucky, in the hills of Mason Creek. She came out strong. Them people are resilient. They're pissing off a demographic of people that they probably don't want to. These are the people that fix things when things are broken. They don't just talk to you. They're not advocates or give advice or this, that, and the other and tell you what you think or how you should do it and then stop you from doing any of it. These are the people that will do it. So at the same time that you're trying to stop, take that in consideration that if you stop them one too many times, it may cost you something more than what you thought. These people were strong before this government-made disaster, just like the title of my show, Manufactured Disaster, Manufactured Chaos. That's what it was. They manufactured it. They did it. We've shared enough stuff tonight, this morning, to see it's undeniable. If you're walking around going, there's no such thing as climate weather modification, it's because you either didn't look and you didn't know, and that could be honestly you, or you just don't care, or you know and you just rather be on the side of the Kamalas. You just do what they tell you to. Not me. Not I. All right. Let's see. One more thing here.
So you tried to get Starlink.
Yeah, one more thing here. Going to do a show, I think on Sunday. Tucker and Elon get together, and it's like almost 2 hours. I'm going to air the show at some point, or the whole thing, and I don't know, maybe give some opinion, but basically, Elon's pretty good at what he's saying here, man. I'm a bit surprised. I don't know where to feel about him sometimes, but man, he comes out there with Trump. Now he's doing all this stuff. He's talking all these things. It just seems like he's on the right page. So this is what he says.
If he loses, man, what? You're fucked, dude.
I'm fucked. If he loses, I'm fucked.
It does seem that way. You can't just be like, yo,
yeah, I'm like, how long do you think my prison sentence is going to be? Do you think Will I see my children? I don't know.
Because it's not like you can say, well, yeah, I maxed out to him, but, you know, I get... You were
I have no plausible deniability.
Does that look like an uptight dude? I mean, I don't. Like I said, the more I see Elon, he's up there jumping up on stage with Trump. I think he had Occupy Mars or some kind of shirt on. I mean, that dude he's a teenager in an adult body. I love it. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel too, man. But just amazing, you know. And then he's telling the truth, you know. What are they going to do to him? That's kind of funny. So yeah, I'm going to air that thing on Sunday at some point, and because it's good, it's really, really good, down to earth, great questions, awesome answers, you know, that kind of thing. Talks a little bit about everything, and it should be something that we should be talking about, sharing, or whatever. So, let's try to see. I really thought this show was going to be longer. Let's see. Yeah, watch this.
Yeah, like Neem, the line. Yeah, if it was like the line, everybody lives like inside that thing and everything you need is right there.
So you think this is why they're doing the hurricane stuff?
Called
well, I think that this could be part of a long-term agenda.
See, where I'm at with this, and I don't know if this is true. I have not substantiated this. I just saw it in a comment earlier in this chat. So if somebody wants to help me out, I mean, I guess I could probably look it up myself, but allegedly, the United States Postal Service has now been shut down in Florida right before an election, which that's not a good thing. Like both of these, like Florida's a red state.
Oh, of course it is. And North Carolina is too.
Carolina.
Don't get me twisted. I'm talking about long term, okay? Like short term, right now, very, very easy to imagine that they're doing this to affect the election. Okay.
Yes.
About climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion, though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning. Katie, go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right. Yeah. Now,
it's not alleged. It's absolute fact. They did it. The fact that she makes him say that, and this show, this a long time ago, when this particular, I wished I had the date on it. I really thought I did. 9 years ago. That's when it happened. 9 years ago.
Realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops? And if they don't have them, there's
in the consequences of famine. Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting, Professor Michio Kaku. Thank you so much.
You heard him. Weather modification, all hurricanes. You imagine dialing up, I'm getting married on this day. You get a hold of Noah and give him your credit card information, and you want it to look pretty. No rain, few clouds, good sunshine, low humidity. Not mine. That's what's. All right, let's look at Wyoming here real quick. Well, I don't know a whole lot about Wyoming and the wildfires. Robert brought it to my attention. Robert Costner, if you're still on there. But I have a small video.
The mind war is the weapon. Now it's all unfolding, and I think I learned my lesson. I know that I am chosen to ease all of the broken. The mind war is the weapon.
So yeah, that's been going on over there for a while. Wildfires. I don't know a lot about it. I don't know how it started. I don't know if they helped it along. I don't know. I just know that there's things going on in our country that aren't natural, but being blamed on natural. And it's happening during the times of our election when it's the most important election of our lifetime. And we've been saying now something was going to happen. They were going to do something because they don't have COVID anymore. It's not real. It didn't exist. It was the flu. You know, they scared you, and you know, they had you believe that you needed a shot and you needed an ID to show that you had the shot, and that you needed to follow the science and this, that, and the other. It's just one more thing that the U.S. government or governments needed scientists to get involved in to try to make it look like, you know, everything. Trust the science. I'll tell you right now, I trust no science. I'm not saying that all science is fake. Not all science. Not all science. I'm sure. There's some vaccines out there that were, you know, very, very good to eradicate certain things, smallpox, stuff like that. So I'm not saying science is not important. I'm saying that they have weaponized science the same way they have weaponized climate. They've weaponized it all. And they've only done that to put out the fear here. So, let me see. So yeah, we've covered everything. The NATO review, the experts, the weather control. I got Russian scholar warns, Project Cyrus, Project Storm Fury, climate manipulation, weather becomes, you know, the weird science of it. How has the United Arab Emirates climate changed? Did we do that one? Oh, it goes into what they've done. And see, in this particular article, here, I'll let you look at it real quick. It talks more about the climate being the factor, the climate change. The graph shows, see, guys, they have models and graphs and fancy pictures and all that stuff like that, climate change. So that, you know, it sticks out like we're fish, and they're just, You know, it's a lure. It's to catch our attention. Sea levels rise, heat waves and water stress, you know, all these things. It's our fault that these things are happening this way. It says, in fact, between 180 and 217, what the hell are they talking about there? The average annual temperature has increased by 1.8 degrees. Huh. It must have been 1800 and something is what their first recording, what I'm thinking. It says, how has the United Arab Emirates climate changed? And since the Industrial Revolution, the global climate has been warming, and this is also true for UAE, and you find out more in this article. So, again, it's just another fear propaganda. It's just, it is what it is. So, as I said, I think that's it as far as all the weather climate stuff. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully in a couple weeks, guys, I'll be in my new little home. I'll get my little studio together and getting it all back together. It's exciting. I'll actually have like a little location to do this and more time. So I know on Wednesday's show was kind of premature. I just ran a couple videos. If you haven't seen that Anon video from Wednesday's show where it talks about the Q and everything related, you really should go back and watch it because, like I said, I don't know much about the Q. I haven't done a lot of research. The guys I listen to, some of those guys do, some of those guys don't. Anyway, the more I get into it, the more interesting it is. Also, I'm going to start this. It's called it's from the 4 Psyops group, and it's about misinformation and disinformation. It's about, they're like 11-minute videos. I'm going to add them to one of the shows, and so that the people can see just how the media, what they're doing, and how to decipher what's real and what's not real kind of type stuff. So, I think the more information that we get out there that's beneficial, not dumb information, will be beneficial to us. So, anyway, I want to say congratulations to my son, my future daughter-in-law. They get married tomorrow. We're going to have fun with that. And go Vols. They play the Gators at home. Checker Neyland. And let's see what else. I don't know. Just all good things. And guys, what's Kimbo say? Mars has a meaning. Everything's got a meaning, don't it? It just, I guess maybe we need to do a show on Mars, right? It's a candy bar, ain't it? Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the show. Hit the thumbs up, like, share, follow. You can see me on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, eventually more places. And like I said, new things are coming for the show. New place, new location, new studio. It's going to be good, man. It's going to be good. So with that, y'all have a good day. Hug your loved ones.
My heart pumping all day long. Get me the morning when darkness comes. My heart, ooh. Bear it, it takes so long to mend. It's harder to lean on this shell of a man. You found love in the Lord, your family and your friends. Could you please pray for me that I can find the same within. My heart, pumping all day long. When the evening comes, please stay strong. Give me the morning when darkness falls. My heart, I found victory in the Father's love from the day we wed, and those vows still hold true. Nothing's gonna tear me down until the day I'm dead. My heart belongs to you. I'm a heart, Jesus, it's time to put your faith within. I'm a heart that you'll find what you love, and there's no breaking it. I'm a heart, Jesus, it's time to put your faith within. I'm a heart that you'll find what you love, and there's no breaking it. I'm a heart, Jesus, it's time to put your I'm gonna pick my bones up and walk through the storm I made. I'm gonna head on home before it gets too late. I turn it upside down and be thankful for what he gave. I'm gonna pick my bones up and walk through the storm I made. I'm gonna hold on tight to you when it gets rough. I'm gonna lay down all my cards and call your bluff. Because the one thing in this moonlit room I trust is the beauty of your smile and the warmth inside your touch. Oh, there's nothing like a love, nothing like a love of a woman. The way she holds you tight, way she holds you tight when you need it most. Just that little bit, just to keep on living. That's when you find out what you're made of. I'm gonna pick my bones up and walk through the storm I made. I'm gonna head on home before it gets too late. I turn it upside down and be thankful for what he gave. I'm gonna pick my bones up and walk through the storm I made. I'm gonna hold on tight to you when it gets rough. I'm gonna lay down all my cards and call your bluff. Because the one thing in this moonlit room I trust is the beauty of your smile and the warmth inside your touch. Oh, there's There's nothing like love, nothing like love of a woman. The way she holds you tight, way she holds you tight when you need it most. It gives you just that little bit, just to keep on living. And that's when you find out what you're made of. That's when you find out. That's when you find out what you're made of. My heart is like a lighthouse, just trying to get you